At some point, some of these books became long-term shelf decorations. Hi, I'm Genevieve. Welcome back to Espresso Shots and Epic Plots. Today, we're fixing that. I'm giving this pile of unread books a time limit. If I don't read these books within the next year, then they gotta go. Join me while I put a time limit on some of my books. Last month, in my April reading down my TBR, I did a spring cleaning theme. I pulled 18 books off of my shelves, and I used 3 different methods to try to decide if I wanted to keep or unhaul them. I didn't actually read any of them, but I had to decide in that moment if I was going to keep or unhaul those books. I ended up getting rid of at least half, if I remember. I'll link the video if you want to watch the whole thing. It's a little long. As I was going through those books, I kind of got the idea to make this video. So here it is. I have until May of 2027 of next year to at least try the books that I have right here. If I try it and I DNF it, I'm obviously gonna unhaul it. But if I don't read it, any of these books that I don't read in the next year, they have to go no matter what, no exceptions. Basically, I either need to read it or admit it's not for me anymore. I think May is a really good time to do this because June is my birthday month, and my favorite treat for myself on my birthday is to buy more books. So it'll give me an opportunity to clear my shelves to make room for more books that I hopefully make good choices about and read. So my first pile of books with an expiration date are my Ancient Relics. These are books that I've had on my shelves for quite a while. Some I don't even know how long they've been on my shelves for. I don't have any record of when or how I accumulated them. So they've been there a while. Some of these you may have seen in other videos. I think most of them are not ones. I think most of them are new to this. First up, I have In the Woods by Tana French. This is, I think it's the first in the Dublin Murder Squad. Tana French is an Irish author, and she focuses on what I would say fall into like the thriller mystery category. They're definitely darker. They're not like your whimsical, cozy mysteries or anything like that. I have read Tana French before. I read The Likeness, which is probably why I bought this as well, because I read The Likeness and enjoyed it, although I don't have it anymore. So I must have read it and then unhauled it. Thriller mysteries are not books that I tend to reread. I just kind of read them, know the plot, and move on. As I mentioned, this is the first in a series, and I think it's kind of the origin story of it. It starts in 1984, and there are these boys that are out in the woods. They are called to come home for dinner. They don't come home. People go out looking for them. They find one boy terrified in the woods, and all of the other children are missing or dead. They don't come home, basically. He's the only one that they find. And then the book fast forwards in time, and that young boy has become a detective for what they call the Dublin Murder Squad, which is not a real thing. And if I remember right, there is another similar incident to what happened to him, and he's put on that case, which is obviously going to bring up like some traumatic feelings for him. So this book is being charged with remaining unread, despite me saying every year that I want to read more Tana French. This next one you have seen in previous videos before. Circe by Madeline Miller. I've talked about this in a couple other videos. Actually, I just recently talked about this as a book that I want to read with my mom, hoping that it might motivate me. I have read A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller and really enjoyed it. I love her writing style. This is about Circe, basically she's like the first witch if you follow, is it Greek? I never remember Greek, Norse, Roman, Greek mythology. She seems to not have any powers when she's younger. She's sent away to an island where she develops her powers. She interacts with all kinds of mythical creatures like minotaurs and Odysseus and all of these other things and kind of develops her powers. And then people come and invade the island, and she needs to protect it. So she's one of those, the female Greek gods that gets a bad rap, and this is kind of her side of the story, if you want to think about it that way. My husband and daughter love Greek, Roman, Norse mythology, all of that. I'm not as interested in it, but when I was reading The Song of Achilles, I was doing some research about like the origin stories and the people, and I like it enough to read about it, but I don't like it enough to really try to get it to stick in my head. But I loved Madeline Miller's writing style, and I love the idea of a story where we are reading about the female side of it, because women are not presented very well in just about any Greek or Roman mythology. So I do want to read this. This is one I'm definitely going to have to work to prioritize because I would feel really bad if I had to get rid of this book. But it's been on my shelves for a really long time and it's just never come up for one reason or another. It's one that I keep just like pushing to the side. This is a book that I'm charging with being universally loved by all, but still intimidating to me for some reason. The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. This is the third in the Thursday Murder Club. That's a mouthful to say. These are a series about octogenarian crime solvers. They all live in a retirement community and they start this club where they try to solve previously unsolved murders and they just kind of get in the mix of things. This is what I would consider a cozy mystery, and each book is a different mystery. So even though it's part of a series, you don't necessarily need to remember the previous mysteries. You read them in order because of the character development. It's about 4 main characters, 2 males and 2 females, and their character development continues throughout the series, but the actual individual mysteries don't continue. I enjoyed the previous 2. Again, I don't tend to keep mystery books. These I read and then passed on to my grandmother because I thought she would enjoy them. The first one has since become a movie, I think, on Netflix, and I actually received an ARC from Goodreads for the 5th one. So this is the 3rd one. So before I even get to read the ARC, I would need to read this one and then the 4th one, which I can't remember the name of the 4th one right now. So this is just a book that's being charged with occupying more space on my shelves, despite me fully enjoying the series, because if I get rid of this one, then I will probably get rid of the other ARC because I don't know why I would keep both of them. My next category of books with an expiration date are my intimidating books, and these are intimidating for 2 very different reasons. This first one is almost laughable. It's kind of become a joke. This is one of those things that I don't think I would do this again. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This one is obviously intimidating because of the size. This is I think it's almost 600 pages. I think the last couple pages are not. Oh no, it's over 600 pages. This is about a girl who is struggling to survive, doing what she needs to survive in a world that does not help its people. She ends up crossing over into the Fae world and becomes magically bound to this man named Kingfisher, if I remember right. I just know that from the internet. She's gonna do anything she can to survive. He's gonna use her in any way to help his people survive. It is a romantasy. I'm sure there's a weird romance in here. So obviously this book has been all over the internet, all over TikTok. The second one came out, I think it was last year is when the second one, it either came out at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. I'm pretty sure it was the end of last year. I purchased this as I don't want to say a joke. I didn't have any interest in reading this. Everybody kept talking about it and I wanted to see what the big deal was. People will read this and absolutely despise it and find it laughable. And then other people read it and they're like, I can't believe I actually had a good time with that. And so I kind of bought it thinking let's see what let's see how bad this really is. That's essentially why I bought this. The charge for this book is being 600 plus pages of romantic commitment issues. On the other end of the spectrum, Educated by Tara Westover. This is a nonfiction book about a woman who was raised by essentially survivalists out in the backwoods of Idaho. And the first time she stepped into a school setting was when she was 18 and she got into college. So this is a memoir. Tara Westover is the woman that wrote it. She was raised, I'm imagining something like a compound. They did not use medicine. It was all herbalist. The males, including some of her brothers, became violent and abused her. And this is intimidating because I know this is going to be an emotionally difficult read. But as an educator, I do feel like there's going to be some really interesting topics in here. Tara Westover taught herself enough math and writing and reading and curriculum to take the ACT. And then she got into college where she went on to study psychology and others. She was interested enough in education to continue and get out of her situation and then write a memoir about it. The charge for this book is me not being emotionally prepared to read it for the last 3 years. I've had 3 years to get emotionally prepared and now it's time. Next up, I have some impulse buys. Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. This is the first in a trilogy. I actually have the second one as well, which is Foxglove. I stopped at the second one, though I did not buy the third one. This is about a girl who is an orphan that has been raised by a string of caretakers that don't really take care of her. They're more interested in her wealth, if I remember right, but they mysteriously end up dead a lot, and then she moves on to another caretaker. That's the Belladonna part. This is a deadly plant, and I think all of the names, like foxglove is a deadly plant. I can't remember what the third one's called. And then she ends up under, like, in the house of people that are actually taking care of her and that she cares more for, but somebody is after them. Somebody is trying to poison the matriarchy, the mother of the household. And so now our main character is going to use her powers to help the family out. And you come to find out, it says this on the back of the book, our main character has had a very close connection with death. Death as a person, death personified, has been following her around her whole life. And so this is another story where somebody has been magically tied to a male character in order to survive. The charge for this one is catfishing me with gothic aesthetics, because how can it not have gothic aesthetics if it's about a young orphan who is tied to death? Filthy Rich Fae by Geneva Lee. My gosh. Ready for the same plot again? Or a mixture of the different plots? Here we have another young female character. In this one, her brother is at risk. There's a family in the world that you don't mess with. They're a powerful family. Her brother somehow becomes involved with them and his life is at stake. So our female main character, Kate, has to make a deal with somebody in the Fae world and becomes magically entwined or bound to them in an effort to save her brother. I feel like I've just said the same plot 3 times, just in slightly different ways, where we have a young female in trouble, so they magically bind themselves to a male mythical creature. This one was an impulse buy. I think I saw it, I feel like I saw it on Amazon, like Kindle at first, and then I found it printed for pretty cheap. You know, it got me. Its charge is fraudulent use of vibes and sprayed edges. Like, I barely even knew what it was about, but somehow purchased it anyway. This one's got a year. We'll call these my potential obsessions, ? One of these, well, actually, let's start with that one. So the book that started this all off, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, this was one of the books that was in my spring cleaning of my TBR. So I gave this book, I'm trying to remember how much of this I read. I want to say for this one, I read the first 2 chapters. Yeah, I think I read 2 chapters of this. And I went into this thoroughly thinking I was going to unhaul it. But after 2 chapters, it is a really, really easy read. It is about a girl who is forced into this essentially dragon academy where she's going to become a dragon riding warrior. It feels like a very female dominant world. Her mother is the queen. Her sister is kind of like the captain. She's like high up in this dragon world. Her name is very important, like her last name is very important. However, there is a lot of warring between different factions in this world. Like, her mother having power did not come easily. There are still people in this world that don't like that her mother has power and that think her mother stole the power. And so she's in this dragon academy with people that actively don't like her and her mother and their family. But yeah, like I was saying, I was going into this thinking like, this isn't my type of book anymore. I don't have any interest in this, but it was just like candy, and that it was really easy to read, and it's going to be like this mindless, I don't have to think about it. However, I do know that when you get to book 2, some people despise book 2. It's going to be 5 books. They're not even out yet. And so this was the one where I decided I'm going to give it a year. And if I haven't read this in a year, I'm just going to get rid of all of them. I have the first 3 because, again, they're taking up a lot of space. This one is being charged with causing a personality shift after just reading 2 chapters. Next up, we have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is what I would consider an auto-buy author for me. I have read, at this point, the majority of what she has published. I've read a lot of her short stories. I don't want to say all because I'm sure there's some out there that I just don't know of. I've read all of the books in her Steminist series, which I think this is technically a part of. I have not read, well, I haven't read the most recent one, the one that is kind of like the sequel to this one. And then the diving one, I can't remember remember the title of the diving one. And then I haven't read the YA books, the chess match, Checkmate or whatever it is. But in terms of like the majority of her contemporary romance, I have read all of them. And when I found out she was coming out with another book, I bought it right away. I was super excited. I opened the front page and read her note, her Dear Reader note, where she talks about how different the vibe of this book is compared to the previous, 3 books that she had written before that. And I was immediately intimidated because it does not sound like my type of contemporary romance. I haven't gotten rid of it because I think I should at least try it. But honestly, I think if I would have read that note, if I would have been able to read that note before buying it, I don't know that I would have bought this. You know, sometimes people put those like trigger warnings in there and they end up not being as big of a deal. The charge for this one is that I'm just not sure that this particular Ali Hazelwood book is gonna match what I want from her stories. I'm gonna give this one a year on my shelves and then not feel guilty about what happens. This next one, I can't explain. I don't know why. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This is another auto-buy author from me. I haven't read everything T. Kingfisher has written because I think T. Kingfisher comes out with 3 books a year. I can barely stay on top of all of them, but I have read a lot of them and enjoyed a lot of them. I've enjoyed the majority of them. This one is a retelling of, is it the Swan, the Goose Girl? I think it's a retelling of the Goose Girl. It's about a young girl that lives out in the wilderness with her mother, and her mother is very controlling and also uses, like, her and her mother, they trick other people, they grift other people, and that's kind of how they get by. And they end up intertwined with this husband and wife, I think. Her and her mother move into the manor home of a wealthy squire as part of their like grifting. But when this happens, our main character starts to feel really bad about it. I purchased this when it came out. This was like right when I was in the beginnings of like getting into T. Kingfisher. I'd read Nettle and Bone and Thornhedge, and I've since read a whole bunch of other T. Kingfisher books. This one I know had mixed reviews. Like some people said that it didn't really feel like some of her other books, but I also know that it was nominated for like all types of awards. I think I keep putting this off because I'm afraid it's going to be one that I don't enjoy as much. It's not one that grips me like some of like the plots of some of her other books have. This one is making me question my unconditional loyalty to T. Kingfisher, and I'm afraid if I read it, then I'll have a book of hers that I don't like as much, which, you know, is okay. Last but not least, we've got a series that I'm struggling to continue. Reckless, which is number 2 in the Powerless trilogy by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA romantasy series. There's been a number of these series where I will read the first book, know that it's fluff, buy all of them, read through all of them really quickly, and then get rid of them. I did that with Once Upon a Broken Heart, I think is the name of the other series. I read the first one. I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days because they're really easy to read. Bought the other 2, read those really quickly. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is so good. It was just like, I read them to read them, and they weren't terrible, but they also weren't good. They weren't like amazing or anything like that. I feel like there's been other books like that I've done that too, where I buy it and read it and know that I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't know why I don't just get them from the library, but I think part of me is like, oh, maybe by the end I'll really, really, really like this and want to keep them. So that's what happened with this one. I read Powerless. I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't amazing or anything like that, but I think it's been almost 2 years since I read Powerless, and now I kind of feel like I need to reread Powerless before I can move on. I have the other 2. I have Reckless, and Fearless is the last one. So I have both Reckless and Fearless. This is a world where there was a plague that left a lot of people with powers, but our main character actually doesn't have powers. She's powerless. And in this world, the king gets rid of you if you don't have any powers. And so our main character fakes having powers. She ends up saving rescuing, I think essentially like a prince or somebody in the royal court. And so she gets entered into these trials that happen every year, and she has to fake having powers. The first book ends with a cliffhanger. You know, who doesn't love a good trial book? She's a fairly strong, independent female character for a YA book. You know, she has some of those typical YA YA female tropes. But anyway, so it ended with a cliffhanger, and I know that I need to reread the first one before I read these. I'm sure I'll read them quickly, but I have other books that I know are going to feel like better reads, and so I've been putting this off. I'm gonna give myself a year to read this one, which means I either need to commit to rereading the first one, or I need to like look up a summary or watch a summary video or something before I move on to this, and then decide whether or not I'm gonna keep this. So this one has been caught in the crossfires of sequel procrastination. All right, so these books are currently on borrowed time. Let me know in the comments which ones you think will survive the year and which ones you think are absolutely doomed. Also, tell me if there's any of them that I should move to the top of my priority list, because apparently public accountability or buddy reading something with my mom is the only way that some of these books might get read. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a like so that I know that somebody's watching. Subscribe if you want to see some more, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Happy reading. Then they gotta go. Why? Why do you always wake up? Come on, you were sitting in the chair asleep. Go. She was never in a school, and she self-taught she self-taught herself. How do I say that without saying self-taught herself? This is about a girl who has been raised by a string of orphans. Or, I'm sorry. Don't get hair in my coffee. Okay, I need you to get your tail out. Ah! Ugh. I just threw coffee all over myself. This is why I drink out of containers with lids. Man. All right.